Welcome to Order in Chaos Episode 6. Today we are talking about seasonal marketing and cultural marketing. And what's the difference between seasonal marketing, cultural marketing, and how business owners can apply these into their marketing efforts. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll begin with the definitions of seasonal marketing. So what it is that a marketing strategy that focuses on seasonal changes and special dates throughout the year to promote products and services. So examples are like 11/11 shopping sprees and all that, like the monthly shopping sprees, or even anything that has to do with special dates, Halloween, Chinese New Year, all the festive seasons, even Valentine's Day. So these are all seasonal marketing. Right. Next up will be the definition of cultural marketing. What is cultural marketing? So, Amazon defines it as the recognition and use of different societal customs, such as traditions, symbols, holidays, and events, to help form meaningful connections with audiences. So, an example to be like tea drinking culture in the Chinese context. Another advertisement that we saw just now, which was by HSBC Bank, so it was exploring a local custom. Do you know that Chinese has this custom where you finish the food?
You're not supposed to finish the food
Uh,
that if you go to someone else's house, right? If someone is hosting you. Reason being is that if you finish the food, it means that the host didn't give you enough. So I think in Western context, if you don't finish the food, it's being disrespectful. So I think there's a clash of culture. So I think that those are the nuances that people need to understand before they kind of explore marketing lah. Right, because a lot of times whatever we are doing, right, we assume that globalized marketing is the way to go, but actually now there's increasing trend towards localization. And so I think that's the part that for business owners or for marketers that aspire to do cross-border kind of marketing, right, those are the things that you really need to explore. It's not just simple translating of the, let's say, web page, right? Because a lot of people are just going to use Google Translate, because you must understand the words that they are using in the local language as much as it's not a direct translation of the word. So in essence, right, like just because you assume that, then you say that hey, but that word doesn't directly translate to the correct word in your local language, but that's the point, right? So a lot of times why we get professional, it doesn't have to be an agency, but at least engage someone, a local, right, in whatever market that you want to expand, to really proofread your content first before you actually put it up. Because recently we actually came across some of the web pages, right, where it was an original Chinese brand, right? So the entire web page was in Chinese, right? Then somehow I think they tried to adapt it to English or something. So they have this English and Chinese tab, right? The English tab is,
must be horrible.
yeah, it was like a direct translation of like the word itself in Chinese, right? But not taking into account the entirety of the sentence, because Chinese is more the phrasing wise is Chinese is like the verb and the thing is flip, right?
Compared to English.
Right, it's flip. So
Yeah.
that's why that's where the error comes in. So marketing is much deeper than that. Than people who just think, oh, I can just directly Google Translate and put that sentence inside, and hoping that you can smoke the person. I mean, people who are reading your text knows lah. I think that's the main point, right? So adapting to seasonal or cultural marketing, right, doesn't necessarily mean that you have to change your brand. It doesn't make any sense, right? Because we talk about Coca-Cola, right? It's the same throughout every culture and markets. What the expression that it gives off supposed to be open happiness. So that doesn't change no matter where you are. But in terms of adapting to the local essence of what makes them happy, right? Let's say the definition of what is happiness for them will be different from country to country, right? So I think that's the part that where your understanding of the local market comes in, right? It's not creating a new brand altogether because you don't have the financial resources. You're not PwC. No, you are not P&G, right? Yeah, Procter and Gamble.
Yeah.
Right? You're not Unilever, right? So yeah, retain the essence of your brand. Just speak in another language, because if humans can do that, brands can do that too. Okay, so when we talk about seasonal marketing, right, it's my personal belief that it's actually a subset of cultural marketing. Reason being is that cultural takes into account the nuances that are based on I mean previous episodes we talked about reptilian trigger, So it's the kind of things that have been indoctrinated in us, right, by our parents. A lot of times, when we were younger, our parents would tell us, "Oh, you cannot do this. You can do this, right?" So, but when we were younger, we do not understand the meaning behind, right? And
why we cannot do this,
Yeah,
all
yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of stuff.
But I'm sure that even our parents don't understand the meaning.
Just
What-
because their parents told them.
Yeah, because their parents told them, right? So a lot of times, it's inbuilt in us, and that gives us the comfort because we know that something that has predictability. That we know that this was taught to us from young. So that's part of our culture. Then how does the season capture this cultural nuances? I think that's how we get to your seasonal marketing. So you know there's certain days there will be spike in demand for your consumers, and you're not just running your a generic, like let's say 50% off 1-for-1 promotion. Those are not effective. Those are still effective, like you definitely see a spike lah.
It can be run anytime, right?
Yeah. So I think like those effectiveness are still there, but then it not very good on your brand image lah. Because if that's all are you a one trick pony? That's all you know, 50% off 1-for-1, right? But if you realize that, let's say if you understand the culture deep enough, I mean we are Chinese lah, so I would say that I understand Chinese culture to some extent, right? Some examples would be, like this month is the Chinese New Year month, right? It's February, right? It's Chinese New Year for us. So what people actually want a lot is actually the Hong Bao, right? It's the red packet, right? Because in this period somehow the demand always spike. And then most people they don't want to spend money on the red packet. Because they're putting money inside. Why do I need to spend extra money on the red packet? So if brands are able to come up with something like a culturally relevant, I think that's the part that will increase your perception as a brand that, oh, you understand me. You made an effort to get to know my culture and to be part of it. And that's why I trust you more. I think that's the part that we need to understand from a branding and marketing perspective, right? Because at the end of the day, everyone just wants someone to understand them, relatable to them, and to feel comfortable with a brand, right?
So how can business owners apply seasonal marketing?
Okay, so the thing is, right, you do not be boxed in by your product category. You must be think in terms of who or what do you represent as a brand, not by your product or your service. It means that just because let's say you are selling shirts, for example, right? You don't just think that, oh, this has nothing to do with shirts. I should not be focusing on this particular season. No, it should not be that way. You must be thinking of what does your shirt represent. Let's say if your shirt is representing connection, then you should be looking for people to collaborate with, right? In terms of maybe hosting a workshop. So it's up to business owners to be creative in terms of how we can promote the brand, right? Without deviating too much. At the end of the day, it's a matter of capital, right? If you have the money to spend lah,
Yeah.
right? But you don't have to be putting in a lot of capital just to create something new, to be creative. Creativity is actually free. So it's up to the business owners to really think of what else could be done that is able to promote themselves. There's a concept of 借力, right? That's what I was saying, like collaborating with others. You don't even have to be your own strength, but it could be someone that you are able to mutually benefit.
Tap on their
Yeah,
strengths.
and tap on their target audience, tap on their strengths. So like we have seen a lot of promotions, like we talk about even Uniqlo, right? So recently Uniqlo actually collaborated with Jonathan Anderson, right? And Uniqlo is would be considered a mass market brand, right? But Jonathan Anderson is like creative director for Dior, right? So as long as you are willing to try, right? I think that's the part where your potential is limitless, because at the same time, of course, people want something familiar, right? In terms of seasonal marketing, but of course, they don't want the same thing over and over again. What, like one gift hamper, $88, abalone, chicken essence, like it's overused. So each seasonal campaign that you can think of, right, has a useful lifespan. I mean, it's best not to reuse, definitely, but you can adapt it, like maybe just change it up a little bit, but definitely don't reuse it. So I think that's the part that a lot of business owners need to think out of the box of when it comes to seasonal marketing.
So in a way, can it be said that the business owners should be thinking in a way that their business is also celebrating these festive seasons? What can they do? So like the collaboration that you said just now,
Yeah,
between Uniqlo and
JW.
yeah, So would it be more seasonal because it can happen at any time? Is it really still seasonal marketing or?
So season depends on individual definition. Because let's say 11/11, that seasonal marketing, right?
Yeah.
It was created by a company. It was not a actual thing,
Yeah.
right? Ling is slow.
Singles Day or all these Chinese.
Yeah, all these Chinese dates are pre Alibaba. It was never a thing,
Yeah.
right? So they literally created the season themselves. Back to the point, right? It's like season marketing doesn't have to be like a predefined holiday, right? We need to think bigger than that. So it doesn't have to be a holiday. Like let's say even we talk about OTAs, right? Your online travel agencies, right? They have their own seasons to run promotions to tell you that oh, this is time to travel, blah blah blah, right? So firstly, you must know your target audience first, right? If your target audience are mostly of a certain demographic, of a certain ethnicity, I mean, we talk about like physical attributes, right? Then that's when you are able to create something for them, right? Or you are able to identify a particular psychographic, like let's say Greg Cardone, right? His 10x conference is a seasonal marketing. It's not, it's a once a year kind of thing. But it was never a thing before he did it, right? So he created a season. He created a 10x season, right? So at the end of the day, every type of seasonal marketing requires nurturing. Of course, when you're doing it in line with other like a particular actual seasonality, like in terms of festivity, you are doing it in line with a particular festivity. You are borrowing the power of the festivity, but you must understand that at the same time, right? Other brands are doing the same. Other brands that are competing with you for that particular attention on the season. So for cultural marketing, right, it's less about what's on the surface, meaning it's less about the particular day, particular tradition, but more of the nuances behind, right? So let's say I give an example. What's the difference between seasonal and cultural, right? It's like let's say Chinese like just are attracted to color red, for example, right? And doesn't have to be on Chinese New Year. It can be all year round. They just feel that that color is lucky.
Red prosperous.
Yeah, right. So it doesn't have to be on just between January or February that you have to wear red. If you can wear it the whole year, they I mean some old folks they really wear it lah. So that's on cultural, right? Tea drinking culture, as what Ken mentioned previously. I'm not sure if this is cultural, but it's more of like practices, lah, right? Where they pour away the first the first brew of the tea.
Oh yeah.
Right. I don't know if that's a Chinese thing. But I see Vietnamese do
I
that.
mean, the English people drink tea. I don't think they do that.
Oh, really?
I'm not sure.
So, okay. So, yeah, for Chinese people, actually, when, let's say an example, when you are brewing tea for a client or whatever, right? You pour away the first brew because that's where you're supposed to expound the flavor. I don't know what's the word for it. So you're supposed to open up the flavor. I think that's what I think that's what the translation
That's the purpose.
yeah, you're supposed to open up the flavor. Then the second brew that you yeah. But anyway, so back to the point, right? So cultural is understanding the lesser known, the less obvious things behind. Let's say in the Western world, right? Let's say we talk about when you're having a dinner, you start from the outside cutleries, right? Outside in, right? That's the usually
Yeah.
right? Then yeah, outside in, right? Then let's say for when drinking wine, people used to swirl the wine and then like to like act like as if they understand what they're doing, right? Or they were just playing with their wine, right? So those are the cultural things that less obvious, but it's done in every single occasion. It's not related to a particular day, time. Yeah. So I think that's the part that for people who want to explore a particular market, right? Why it's important? Because it's not just in okay, you can tell me, oh, those are very small matters, right? But it back to when we talk about branding, right? So how does a brand is formed? Right? A brand is formed not by that one big thing that you do or that one big event that you do.
Yeah.
Right? It's formed by the thousand different touch points that your clients get to interact with you on those touch points. So if your thousand touch points, right? Let's say that you are a particular nature, no matter how much you can do as much PR as you want, right? But people will still not believe you, right? I mean, if you do big PR events, right, it doesn't work because during those touch points, let's say we talk about your customer service, when we talk about let's say your understanding of their local language, their local customs, and it's not there, right? They wouldn't trust a brand like you. That's why people still prefer local brands compared to international.
Yeah.
Right? And in terms of finding, let's say, a service provider, right? Why do people still prefer their own local? Right? Singaporeans still prefer DBS. Why? Do they give the best interest rate? No. Do they have the best products? I don't know. Right? But one thing is because it's familiar and they understand Singaporeans, right? So I think it's the same as for different countries. Let's say Hong Kong is HSBC, in Thailand it's like Kasikorn, right? The reason is because those they show a deeper layer of understanding as compared to incumbent competitors. So when you're penetrating a foreign market, right, you must understand that you are fighting above your weight class. And in order to fight above your weight class, you must be more prepared than others, right? And you must I mean unless you are LV lah. I mean like back to the LVMH lah. You don't need to.
They are the culture.
Yeah, they are the culture. So unless you're LV so I mean yeah, but most of us are not LV. So I think that's a takeaway from this episode where if you intend to
Bring it to a foreign
market,
yeah.
you
You
need
have to understand the culture and what's going on. So it's like the things that you wouldn't know until you really spend time there and get to know like the culture and what they do differently and what some things that they find acceptable or not.
Yeah.
And then adapt to that. Yeah.
Those are the points where relationship building lah. I think it's all back to if you want to build a relationship, you don't expect the person to get to know you first, but you should know the person first. Also, the key takeaway from this video is that people don't remember what you say, but they remember how you make them feel. So I think that's the part that everyone needs to take away from this video, and that's the end of
Order in Chaos Episode 6. Happy New Year, y'all.
恭喜发财，万事如意。